As someone who's played a lot of roguelikes in his day, there are very few roguelikes that have left me feeling the clutch of defeat. I'll be honest, I don't lose often. I've taken so few L's in my roguelike challenges that I don't even remember how to draw it anymore. But in my long and checkered history with roguelikes, no game has put my mettle to the test like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate, an action roguelike with unique characters, insane bosses, and a difficulty that can only be described in yelling. It's a very fun experience, but to this day, I still haven't beaten this game, and it keeps me up at night. So when Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate told me that they're finally releasing on Steam and the Epic Game Store, and then asked me if I wanted to run back the challenge and attempt to beat the game in 4 tries, I strapped on my work boots and decided that this was going to be the time that Scooch wins. The rules are simple. This roguelike has 4 characters. If I can beat the game a single time in all 4 of my runs, then I can reclaim my title as a roguelike virtuoso. However, if this game defeats me 4 times in a row, I will concede to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate and admit that this ninja is just not good enough. Thank you, Super Evil Megacorp, for sponsoring the video. Now let's dive into the runs. For our first run, I decided to choose Raphael. Since this was a brand new challenge on a brand new platform, none of the permanent progress that I made carried over, meaning I only had 1 revive and 1 dash for this run, which is basically a death sentence in most action roguelikes. The good news is that since we've tried this challenge before and failed, I at least was able to think about the metagame. Knowing my first run was basically going to be a sacrifice for me to save money and buy permanent revives, I scanned the character list and chose Raphael because I personally struggled with playing him the most. He has naturally short attack range, and his special move is a channel, which makes it hard to fully get the damage off, because in this game you're constantly being blasted by so many things all the time forever. We get a power-up that allows my special move to apply ooze, which is basically a poison over time. It seems like it would be overpowered on my multi-stab special since I'd be able to stack it quickly. However, I'll say I don't really like poison builds in roguelikes. To not explain myself too much, waiting for a dot to kill your opponent tends to keep them alive just enough to get 1 sucker punch in before they die. And in harder games like this one, there's already enough to freak out about as it is. But for this run, it'll have to do. We fight our first boss, and here's where I realized that my ooze plan was not that good. The damage over time is negligible, and my nightmare was coming true. We get a fire perk that buffs my damage for a few seconds every new encounter, and then we get more scrap to be able to afford something cool at the upcoming shop. At the shop, we buy yet another ooze upgrade, which allows us to stack it way more. Then we fight our first stage boss, Leatherhead. Let's see. The oozing? Okay, the ooze is kind of something. The ooze is kind of cooking. Ooh! That wasn't so bad. No! I thought I could finish him in that go. Whoop. Oh, wait, here it is. You're about to get oozed on, little man. You're about to get oozing him. You're gonna find out why my favorite rapper is Lil Uzi. With Leatherhead defeated, we head to stage 2 out of 4 and get area size and attack damage. I realized as the game got harder that my build was probably not going to get me to the end. So I decided to make the hard decision to start saving dragon coins, a currency you could use in between runs to get permanent upgrades, so that I can spend them on getting more revives after Raphael's untimely death. I know I keep talking about how hard this game is, but just look at this next fight. Character to get an extra life. Ooh, owie, man. Jeez, ow, man. I need some healing bad. These aren't even a boss, by the way. These are just normal guys. We defeat the mid-boss, and I experiment yet again to see if my ooze is strong, and it's still not doing a lot. We hit the shop and I can't afford anything important, and then we find yet another buff for my ooze stacks. The second stage boss is Karai, and she is very hard, because she throws a ton of shurikens at the same time, and all of them can hit you. Still, I luck out and beat her while only losing about a limb and a few internal organs worth of health. We start the third stage and luck into crit chance for my special move. The third stage of this game is very hard. You're in a massive city fighting robots, mutants, and of course, ninjas. And I didn't realize this the first few times I played, but they actually fight each other. We find an upgrade that lets me stack my ooze twice as fast, and honestly, at this point, I was just experiencing a sunk cost fallacy, because no matter what I did, my ooze build just wasn't getting better. This stage also had one of the most oppressive enemies I've ever dealt with. These little Mauser things that shoot a continuous laser beam that zones an entire section of the map. That may sound annoying enough as it is, but what if I told you that some of them can shoot 4 laser beams at the same time, and multiple of those can also spawn at the same time? Yeah, it's kinda brutal. We hit another shop, but I got so beat up by the laser mice that I have to buy health, which also hurts the scaling of my build. We finally get a brand new tool, which is the shuriken, and it's actually pretty strong because it stacks my ooze as well. Then we hit another shop where I have to make the depressing choice to buy health yet again instead of another power-up. You can very much tell that we're in the streets of New York because for this stage boss, you get jumped. Bebop and Rocksteady are very hard, because unlike most games where a duo boss just means 2 halves of one boss fight, both of these guys are very capable on their own. But I was capabler. We finished the fight off and I'm down to no revives right before the hardest stage and Shredder himself. And it went exactly as you'd expect. This might be a reset. I mean, for what it's worth, we kind of got what we were looking to get. We wiped the cobwebs off, but on top of wiping the cobwebs off, we tried an ooze build, and we know that we're not going to try to do ooze again. Whoa. Oh, I'm dead. No! I was so close, but I didn't get through him. With Raphael dead, I only had 3 turtles left to get my first W. I used my saved up dragon coins to buy another revive and more dash charges so that it's easier to dodge. We decided to go with Mikey for the next run because even though he's a great character, his multi-hit passive isn't as good as what Leo and Donatello have to offer. This time, our first upgrade is a pretty interesting one. Every 2 seconds, my next basic attack turns into a final strike which hurts a decent amount. This benefits the hit and run playstyle you have to use in the messier sections, but as an added bonus, Mikey's attacks are all also pretty massive, which makes my final strike hit some pretty far enemies. This will serve as the basis of my build. I added Ultram to my attacks, which is just bonus lightning damage that makes my final strike even better because it adds flat damage per hit, and Mikey is so combo heavy that his final strike hits multiple times in a row. I also find light attacks, which scale my attack damage with my max health, which is really strong and also kind of realistic. Technically, the bigger someone is, the harder they hit, so scientifically, it checks out. I opt to level up my health to give me more chances to take damage, and also buff my attacks by just getting bigger fists. We fight the first major boss, and honestly, I absolutely love how Mikey feels. His nunchucks are just so satisfying, and the final strike charge is dealing a decent bit of damage as well. With Leatherhead defeated, we head to stage 2 and grab Leonardo's inspiration, which makes my final strike now deal a burst of damage on top of it. I basically played these fights like a sleep paralysis demon. If you see me, you should be terrified, but if you look for me, I'm already gone. We pick up the shuriken tool because it's awesome and ranged attacks are always overpowered in roguelikes. And then we head into another Karai fight with our new build. And by doing the same hit and run tactics that we've been doing the entire time, we defeat her and dash into stage 3. At this point, my dash strike charge thingy is killing the weakest enemies in one attack, which feels pretty good. I realized that my hit and run playstyle isn't giving me a lot of hits to charge my shuriken, so I replaced it with a shield that makes me invulnerable for a few seconds, just so I can get more attacks in. We hit the mini boss of this section, which is a very powerful ninja, and then we got an upgrade that adds electricity to our final strike, once again empowering my single tactic. But I was definitely going to regret this soon. You see, there's this section in the duo boss fight that I genuinely believe is one of the hardest parts of the game. When you lower their health enough, Bebop and Rocksteady run across the city, and to catch them you have to destroy these machines that are spawning force fields. It's basically a DPS check where every second that you can't kill the machine, more and more enemies spawn to blow you into atoms. I'm gonna just take a screenshot here. Do you see how insane this is? Eventually, if you're too slow, there's so much stuff to dodge on screen that you can't even stand anywhere, let alone attack the machine. And since my entire build revolves around waiting 2 seconds to get a charged attack, I failed the DPS check really badly and ended up barely clearing the boss with very low health. Fortunately, I didn't use any of my revives, so we head into the final stage with 2 lives left. Then, within one of the first encounters, I end up having to fight 3 ninjas and they beat my cheeks clean off. Also, the revives don't put you back at full health unless you spend time to level it up, which we couldn't do because we're trying to clear this game in 4 tries. I was basically dead to rights. I pick up a max health upgrade and then we fight a giant robot who's insanely tanky and barely survive that fight with 1 HP. Unfortunately, in a cruel twist of fate, the encounter wasn't even close to done, and they send out laser robots and more insanely fast ninjas. Dude, I don't see him charge that. I'm dead. I'm dead. I'm dead. Dude, it's so hard. It's so brutally difficult. Wow. And with Michelangelo dead, we only had 2 more turtles left to beat the game. If we were going to get to Shredder, let alone beat him, we would need a miracle. I decided to choose Donatello because his whole gimmick is that he charges tools 80% faster, which would allow me to spam shuriken or whatever I find, as long as I can weave a few attacks here and there. And remember that miracle I said we needed? Well, believe it or not, we lucked out in this run incredibly early. There's this tool that you haven't seen yet, a tool that I've only managed to get in a co-op run off camera when I played with my friends. And that tool is the fireball. This item shoots 3 homing fireballs out towards opponents and deals an insane amount of damage. But we were so lucky that within the first stage of the run, we found it at level 3, which meant that I was shooting out 3 fireballs that dealt 100 damage each, which is 300 damage every few attacks, because remember, Donatello's whole thing is that he charges his tools very fast. But if that miracle wasn't crazy enough, we immediately also find an upgrade that lets us carry 2 charges of this, meaning I can charge up to 600 damage worth of fireballs and blast them all when I see fit. I mean, just look at how much damage this is dealing to the first main boss. That's insane. However, this run wasn't all sunshines and rainbows, because for some reason, as if the game noticed it did something nice for me, it made me face the stronger version of Leatherhead. Because believe it or not, this game has EX versions of bosses that have entirely new attack patterns and moves. We defeat Leatherhead by spamming our Fire Blast of Doom and head into the docks relatively healthy. We find an inspiration that gives me bonus attack size, and even though my attacks aren't close to my main source of damage, that's how I charge my tools, so being able to hit from further away was a great bonus. Not to sound like a broken record here, but the ninjas that normally took entire combos to kill were dropping like flies because, again, my fireballs were dealing 300 damage. It's just so much. We fight the mid-boss and it's a giant mouse that I fry in record time, and then I get an upgrade called Shimmering Shield, which makes me immune to projectiles for a second or so when I dash. I am now harder to kill than I've ever been, with more damage than I've ever had, and it felt pretty good. We head to the actual boss of stage 2, and you guessed it, it's her EX Mystic version that now shoots out pools of fire. Fortunately, 2 can play at that game, and I melt her faster than she can melt me. We head into stage 3, and I'm feeling very confident. We get a mastery that allows us to charge our tool 30% faster on top of the 80% that we already have, and my fireballs are basically a machine gun with the firepower of a rocket launcher. We hit the mid-boss of this stage, and he is a super souped up bot. I don't know what triggers it, but this run easily had the hardest version of every boss I've faced. Like, if I didn't have the fireball, I probably wouldn't have made it out of stage 2. Also, there's a lightning storm happening at the same time, which just adds more stage hazards because lightning strikes the ground. It's so brutal. I fight the duo boss, and thanks to my Shimmering Shield, I beat the first phase without getting hit a single time. The DPS check humbles me immediately because even the fireballs aren't enough to kill the shield generators fast enough. But we squeeze through and finish the duo boss, and now have only one more stage to finish with a decent amount of health. We get a mastery that adds a bit of extra damage to the fireballs, and head into the war zone that defeated us twice now. And finally, through a sheer miracle, we get to Shredder for the first time in 3 runs. I didn't know if I would get this chance again, so I knew I had to focus now harder than ever. It may be the only chance I'd get to swing at the king, so I could not miss. Okay. Alright. If I stay behind him, it looks good. Okay, he has now dodged my tool twice. Okay. Oh god. Excuse me. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh goodness. I think he has a second phase if I recall correctly, but I could be wrong. He dodged my tool. That's always so not good. Uh-oh.
None of this feels very zen to me.
Okay. Oh my god. Oh! Oh, thank God, dude! Is that it? Did I do it, man? Oh my god. And with that completed, we beat Shredder for the first time in my life. Was I carried by an overpowered item? Yeah, but I don't care. A dub is a dub is a dub is a dub. Thank you so much, Super Evil Megacorp, for allowing me to make content on your game. This was such a hard challenge, but it was really fun to try my best. If you want to check this game out, the game is finally available both on Steam and the Epic Games Store. It's even fully optimized for the Steam Deck. So grab your friends and click the link in my description to give it a try. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Love ya!